began with a whisper in the glass. Elena Voss had never believed in curses. She was a restorer of antiques, a woman of reason and precision, and her world revolved around old wood, faded canvases, and tarnished metal. But the day she first touched the mirror, reason lost its place. The mirror was found in the ruins of an old manor near Devonshire, blackened by smoke and warped by time. The frame was carved oak, gilded once, but now dull, its edges crawling with designs that looked more like veins than vines. It was heavy, heavier than any mirror she had handled before, and when her assistants lifted it into her studio, the air felt colder, as if it had brought a shadow inside. "Careful with that," Elena said, brushing off the dust. Her fingers left streaks on the glass, and for an instant she thought she saw movement. Her reflection blinked twice while she had not. She blamed exhaustion. Weeks of work, too little sleep, too much caffeine. She covered the mirror with a linen cloth and told herself it was nothing. That night, she dreamed of the manor where the mirror came from. The dream felt thick, like walking through smoke. She saw a woman in black standing before the mirror, whispering something she couldn't hear. When Elena woke, her mouth was dry and her body cold. Her phone read 3:03 a.m. She never dreamed so vividly before. The next morning, the linen cover had slipped off. The mirror reflected her studio perfectly, except there was a figure standing in the corner, a shape where no one was. Elena spun around, heart pounding. Nothing. But when she turned back, the figure in the reflection was closer. That was when the fear began to settle, quiet but deep. She decided to research the mirror's origin. The manor it came from belonged to the Howcroft family, known for their strange disappearances in the late 1800s. Lord Howcroft's wife, Lady Myrina, was rumored to have practiced occult rituals, obsessed with the idea of beauty that never fades. Local legends said she trapped her soul in a mirror to preserve her youth, but the mirror consumed her instead. Elena read these words under the weak glow of her desk lamp, and something cold brushed her cheek. She turned. The mirror had somehow shifted, facing her directly. "Who moved you?" she whispered. The reflection's mouth curved, not hers, not exactly, and then froze again. Elena began keeping the studio locked at night. But the dreams continued. Each time, she saw more of the ritual. Candles, blood, chanting. And always, the woman in black whispering to the glass, her voice like rust scraping metal. One morning, Elena found words scrawled across the mirror's surface in condensation. "Look deeper." She ran her hand over the writing, heart pounding. It vanished instantly. She stared at her reflection, forcing herself to breathe. "It's just stress," she said aloud. But even as she said it, her reflection whispered something back. The whisper wasn't hers. From that day on, her reflection began to misalign. Slight delays, wrong movements. Once it smiled when she didn't. Another time, it reached out before she did. She filmed herself on her phone to prove she wasn't losing her mind, but the recording was static. The mirror refused to show up properly. Elena's friends noticed a change in her. She became pale, distant. She started wearing gloves, claiming her hands felt too cold. She avoided her own reflection. Mirrors at home were covered. Even her phone's front camera was taped over. But the mirror in her studio called to her. One evening, a storm rolled across the city. Rain lashed the windows. Thunder shook the walls. Elena sat before the covered mirror, unable to resist anymore. Slowly, she pulled away the cloth. The glass shimmered. Behind her reflection stood the woman from her dreams, Lady Myrina. Her eyes were hollow, her mouth moving soundlessly. Elena whispered, "What do you want?" The answer came like wine through dead leaves. "A trade." Elena stepped closer. "A trade." The reflection nodded, her movements slightly off. "A soul for freedom." Elena's breath fogged the glass. "Yours." The reflection smiled. "Yours." The power went out. The studio plunged into darkness, broken only by lightning flashes. In one, Elena saw the reflection step forward. She stumbled back, but her heel caught on a cable. She fell, and when she looked up, she wasn't in her studio anymore. The air was heavy, the walls flickering between light and shadow. She stood in a long hallway lined with mirrors, all reflecting her face but distorted. Older, younger, decayed, burned. In each reflection, her eyes looked wrong. Elena, A voice whispered from everywhere. "It's time." She ran, hands scraping the mirrored walls. Every reflection reached toward her as she passed, fingers pressing against the glass. She tripped and crashed into one of the mirrors, and found herself staring into her studio again. Except she was still standing there, outside the mirror, looking down at her with wide eyes. "Elena," the other her said softly. Elena slammed her palms against the inside of the glass. "Let me out," she screamed, but no sound came. The other Elena tilted her head, smiled faintly, and whispered, "A trade." Then she covered the mirror with the linen cloth. Days passed. The new Elena lived as if nothing happened. Her friends noticed she was more confident, more vibrant. She laughed easily, spoke warmly. Her eyes glowed faintly gold when the light hit just right. Inside the mirror, the real Elena screamed until her throat broke. No one heard her. The other reflections, countless others, watched with hollow pity. She wasn't the first. And outside, the cursed mirror continued its journey. Elena sold it months later, saying it didn't suit her decor. A collector in Prague bought it for a small fortune. When he unpacked it, he thought he saw faces behind the glass. He told himself it was just the light. But that night, he dreamed of a woman whispering through the mirror. And far away, inside the glass, Elena watched as another soul approached, another chance at freedom, another trade waiting to be made. Years passed. The mirror moved through hands like an invisible infection. It was hung in a hotel lobby once, where guests vanished without explanation. Later it appeared in a museum's private storage, then disappeared again. Every time it resurfaced, someone went missing. Each new owner saw their reflection move on its own, always subtle at first. Sometimes the reflection cried when they smiled. Sometimes it aged faster than them. And sometimes it simply stood still while the owner walked away. The curse fed on fear, vanity, and curiosity, the three mirrors of the human heart. When a graduate student named Marcus found it in an antique shop years later, the mirror had dulled to almost black. The shopkeeper sold it for almost nothing, grateful to be rid of it. Marcus cleaned it carefully, and as he wiped the dust away, he thought he saw movement. But unlike others before him, he wasn't afraid. He was fascinated. He set it up in his small apartment, studying it at night. Soon, the whispers began again. They spoke in fragments, names, dates, places long forgotten. He started recording them, convinced he was onto something extraordinary. In his recordings, the voice never said his name, until one night it did. "Marcus." He froze. "Who are you?" The whisper grew clearer. "Help me." Behind the voice he thought he heard more. Hundreds of faint cries, like people trapped in the wind. He leaned closer to the glass. The reflection smiled.